Okay, so this time we actually do have Sky giving me the correct title for the episode. Hopefully the correct season number and episode number as well, because I hated last time I had to fix that. But hopefully this should be Homer of Seville, and it should be season 19, episode 2. I've got to admit, the season 19 seems to have been a really good start for the season to episodes, as long as hopefully that other episode is season 19. I really should have checked that, because I wasn't too sure. So the episode starts out with... Wow, I have completely forgotten the beginning of the episode. That's weird. Okay, so the episode starts off with the Simpsons leaving church, which, has the general sort of thing of Homer trying to escape quickly because he doesn't want to get stuck in the parking lot. And then they go to get food afterwards. So you get the sort of the jokes of like the various sort of ridiculous place names. That's apparently Pepper Springfield. Apparently the theme restaurant is a big thing within the town. And so they find a place that's it's basically a party of some kind, and they crash it and realise that it's actually a funeral. Which, probably not the first time that they've been and done something of questionable morality, but it's not too far from the beaten path at this point. And so Homer ends up being a pallbearer for this the person who they don't say who it is, they don't talk about it. It's just they crashed a funeral. Doesn't really need much more explanation than that. And as he's carrying it, he ends up falling into a grave, which, funnily enough, is not the first time that's happened, because when Homer met his mother again for the first time, which is, I think, Mother Simpson, I think is the episode, he fell into a grave, and that's how then Mona appears, because Mona tells him, you awful man, get out of my son's grave. So Homer seems to have a habit of falling into people's graves, which is a little weird. So because he does that, he ends up hurting his back, and they find that if he lies down completely flat, that Homer has a wonderful singing voice. Although this seems weird, because they did kind of already show that Homer had a singing career. He was a member of the B Sharps. So it seems kind of funny that there's this odd moment where they're surprised by that. And though they do bring up the fact that there was an opera singer who recorded an entire album singing lying down. So there is that nice moment where they've kind of gone, look, this has a basis in reality. It kind of feels like the original episodes again, in that regard, where they're sort of maybe taking something real, but twisting it just a little for comedy's sake and to fit the characters in. A lot of the early episodes were very, very sort of realistic in that regard. They're very, very down to earth, very grounded. And so Homer ends up singing at the hospital and ends up being found by Mr. Burns and brought in to do opera because they need a person to do it. And it's kind of funny because Mr. Burns' introduction is the same, like he's going shopping and he's in the morgue and it's him walking through and pointing at different people and choosing what body parts he wants to take. And that's a nice bit of social commentary there because there is that. Maybe that thought, there is if you've got a lot of money, that's something you could do just because of how unsafe people can be in this sort of day and age. So basically they realize with the fact that Homer can only sing on his back, so they changed the opera slightly bit. And I wish actual operas came with the subtitling thing, because that's what they do. So showing the subtitles on the screen, which they could have done. They have this joke of the subtitles being, for the opera being above on a little, I don't know what the word would be, but it's just a little screen, which they show for sort of the first few lines to show that that's how people are understanding it. I've got to admit, if operas actually had that, I'd go to them, because I have trouble half the time understanding the English language. I'm not going to learn Italian or German, or I think there might be few French operas, I think. I don't know. Opera's not really a thing I know. My knowledge of opera comes from the show Frasier. That's about it. That's all I know. So Homer then ends up getting very popular, and he ends up sort of they don't go down that thing of the fame going to his head. The fame gets to him a little bit, but not by a huge amount. And so Marge sort of calls him out on this, and they end up getting chased by crazy fans. Although given the age of the people who are in the mob that are chasing them, I can't really see how they could have chased them that easily. And there's a very nice joke about Marge and Homer run down this alleyway and hide, and one of the old women uses like her opera glasses to find them, but she does it by having like a thermal imaging mode on them, so you can see them in this dumpster. That's a clever joke. It's a very nice little moment. So they then get saved by Celty from Durarara. No. I thought about a joke in my head when I was watching the episodes, because it's a person on a motorcycle wearing entirely black. It makes me want to say Celty. But I think it's Jane Lynch. I forget. I feel like it is Jane Lynch who voices the character. If it's not, I imagine, once again, future me who's editing this episode will have put a little thing to say who the actual character is, then followed once again by idiot, because I think it's Jane Lynch. If I'm right, then future me, you don't get to correct me. The other problem is, like, by the time you get to this character being introduced, you're in like the second half of the episode. So there has this whole thing of like that she's a stalker and she really wants to sleep with Homer, which now makes it the second person to have been just immediately attracted to Homer. At least what I can think of. So the other one was Mindy for The Last Temptation of Homer, who was very attracted to him. The problem with this is just that it's so quick. She's introduced. She immediately, her first sort of line of dialogue is the first like sort of interaction is her removing the motorcycle suit she's wearing at the time, revealing she's naked underneath. And that's it. And it's a very sort of, it's too quick in a way. It's because then there's this montage of scenes of her trying to sort of place herself into Homer's day-to-day life. I say that one of the weird ones is that she appears at the power plant, but she appears where Homer is like dealing with the inanimate carbon rods, or just the carbon rods, I guess, because it's glowing. And she's sort of like almost naked. But that's how I was like, if you expose yourself to that level of radiation, you're going to, one of two things. You're going to turn into a superhero, or you're going to turn into the Toxic Avenger. Neither of those two things really I think actually would happen. I think melty skin. So I know it's a cartoon, I like poking the holes. But that's just very quick, and then Homer sort of says, like, you know, he doesn't want anything to do with her, so she then tries to kill him. But the problem is that it's too quick. It's the second half, it's 10 minutes, and it's bottling down what really could have been a much bigger story into 10 minutes. And it doesn't work. Because it's very quick, you know what's going on, it's not really, there's a mystery there, you know exactly who's doing it, so the fact they try and build it up a little bit is a bit ridiculous. And so you have Homer go to do the opera that he's doing. I don't simply say in the things I'm trying to think of it. And when that happens, she ends up trying to attack Homer, and Marge apparently turns into fucking Black Widow as she leaps from the box seats of the opera they've got, descends what's got to be a floor at the best in high heels, and hits the floor, grabs a tuba, and redirects the poison dart that the stalker was going to use to kill Homer back at the stalker. Seriously, Marge turned into Black Widow. She did. It's really weird. And then it's the Springfield police being shit as usual. There's all these snipers who are trying to shoot at her, but they're just missing every shot except for one which hits her arm. And then they accidentally drop the chandelier on her for some reason. Which then basically is like what saves her life through just a very convoluted thing. And so then Homer says he's not going to do the opera anymore and he's going to leave. But then he finds apparently that singing opera made him good at painting, which then Bart asks Lisa, is that a real thing? She says no. So it's kind of good that the episode's kind of calling themselves out in a way of the absurdity in some bits. It's a fine episode. I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's another like it doesn't really suck episode. It's a bit rushed in a way because they could have just had the whole thing. It could have been the same story of Homer gaining an amount of fame, and it goes to his head, and he becomes an asshole, and then he realizes what he's been doing, and they could have tied that into opera. I would imagine there was an opera where someone sort of goes against their family in a way and realizes it, and they could have had that moment, and it maybe would have been interesting. But instead, they went for the stalker storyline, which is just as fine. The problem is, it is just that it's too short. It's not given the amount of time it should be given. It should have been a balance where, like, the whole like Homer's popularity got very quick, very fast, very fast at the beginning of the episode. They have the woman come in to help, and then it begins to be this thing of like that something is going on, that she's trying to get Homer in that way, which is, then it wouldn't be like the Last Temptation of Homer, where the pair of them were sort of trying to avoid each other, where Homer and Minnie didn't want to do those issues and were being very good people, and it was just the unfortunate issue that they kept getting forced into situations. Because this is the person who's then aggressively going after Homer. And how did I forget Lurleen Lumpkin? How the fuck did I forget that episode? I really don't know. Because she is actually another character who was aggressively going after Homer as a romantic partner. I don't know how I forgot that episode. That's really weird to me. So it is interesting when I think about that episode, there was another character, but I guess this is like, Lurleen was very genteel about how she was doing it. She wasn't trying to be assertive or aggressive in a way. She was trying to win Homer over with sort of the songs and showing how much she sort of cared for him. So that's an interesting sort of dichotomy against the two characters. But it did also seem like Lurleen as a character was someone who got built up. She was built up from the beginning of the episode, where Homer meets her and helps her, and she ends up falling for him because she probably does feel sort of indebted to him in a way because of how much he did for her. Whereas this character, whose name I don't actually know, I can't think of it. She probably did get named, but she's barely in the episode, so I don't care. That's the problem. If they're barely in the episode, I'm not really going to pay attention. Whereas that character, she doesn't get any detail, any reasoning. It's just, no, she's there, she's a stalker, okay. There's no build-up, and there's no development. She doesn't feel like a character, she feels like a plot point, which I think is the problem. Like, you've got a character, you've got a famous actress, which I do really think it was Jane Lynch. I can't remember, I don't know why. I'm sure I've seen the name before, and it's Jane Lynch for the episode. It might not be. If I'm wrong, I'm an idiot, but if I'm right, I'm very happy. And I don't get why you bring in the person and have them do the bare minimum. I don't get it. I don't get why you have a person voicing a character and the character is so bland. It's just so dull. Basically, all this was a Sideshow Bob episode, but with Homer replacing Bart's normal role. Actually, I don't get. See, this is a funny thing. I stop about this now. It's one thing on this moment, so just like mid review. Why not have Sideshow Bob be the person trying to kill Homer over this? If you're going to have that role, if you're going to have that idea, and it may have just sounded, I don't know whether the camera put it up, it may have just sounded like I farted. Actually, what happened was my feet are sitting on top of a leather sort of like little stool, and I shifted my heel. So it may have the camera may have picked up what sounded like a fart, but I promise you, it was not a fart. If it had been a fart, I would have moved. But I don't get why Homer didn't have a thing of like Sideshow Bob appearing, because it's Homer singing opera, and Kelsey Grammer is the character. Kelsey Grammer is the person who, if you're going to have something about opera, why not have him be in the episode? There's a thing I really want to talk about in sort of like the Simpsons, in regards to the Simpsons movie, and then in regards to the Simpsons movie connecting to the actual recent series, in that there are major issues, and the Simpsons movie is the epitome of those issues. It's the reason why I don't like the Simpsons movie that much anymore. It's why I don't think it's that great a movie. And part of it was the characterizations. It's the lack of sort of feeling like they need to have a character be anything more than simply what they are in the episode. Because back in that episode with Lurleen Lumpkin, you get that she is a character who has been a person who has tried their best, has worked hard, has been in a situation she doesn't like, has a lot of talent, and it really deserves to be seen, and that she is perhaps in a way a little naive and a little selfish because she's more than willing to try and sleep with a person who is married, and she wants to try and steal Homer away. And it probably is more due to an idea of that feels indebted to Homer for having helped her. And so that's an interesting thing. Whereas, I can think of that entirely just by the episode alone. This episode, it doesn't give me that same feeling of the character. All I can go is, oh, she's obsessed with Homer. She wants to have sex with him. That's it. So why do I care? And that's the question. That is the question I will always end up asking with the episodes. Why should I care about the episode, what happens in it, if you guys don't care enough to make the characters more than just one idea, more than one trait? That's the bizarre thing of it. I want to care about these characters. I want to have this character come in. I want to actually feel like, oh, they're a person. I don't really feel like it's the villain of the week. If I wanted that, I could watch Power Rangers. This thing, I could watch a cartoon from the 80s. If I wanted, lack of character, I could do that. The Simpsons should not be lack of character, because they were never lack of character. And I think that's probably one of the major most sort of things as well, is that and once again, it's because the episode's pretty good, so I'm getting onto other topics. It's just that the characters now, the Simpsons family, do feel a lot more like they are just, they are whatever traits are there. They are whatever traits are necessary in the moment. It is nothing about anything else. They are just as they are at the time. They are not set characters anymore. They're fluid in a way to that regard. They are not. You don't say like, this is how this character should react, this is how this one will react, this is how this will react. It's more like, okay, we need this character to react this way. And so it's just the issue that I think this episode does maybe kind of show a bit about this, how the characters are less thinking. The writers seem to think less about how the characters have reacted in the past or things that have happened in the past, and instead they just kind of focus on the now. Like, I suddenly went to The Incredibles there. Forget, I don't think about the past, darling. It distracts from the now. Which is ironic. That's Brad Bird doing that voice, and Brad Bird was a writer on The Simpsons. So it all connects. It's a cycle. Everything is connected. It's conspiracy theory. It's the Illuminati working through Simpsons. I don't know how they haven't done a conspiracy episode of The Simpsons yet. I'm amazed. But they probably have. But I can't think about stuff in my head. Maybe it's a later season. I don't actually know. I know the episode now. It's the one where Bart takes the focus in and starts thinking that someone is spying on him, and then is proved correct because for some reason it's baseball. I love how I did that. I forgot it and then I remembered it. I like when that happens. So yeah, this episode I actually think is another. It doesn't suck. It's good. I do just think it's a bit in the character development, and it's very quick. It feels like they had two big stories they could have done, and they could have separated them out, and they could have been okay on their own, and they could have fleshed them out and developed them more, and that would have been fine. And I think that's the issue. I think that's the interesting thing, that sometimes they end up crashing like two plot points. They smush them together and say, oh yeah, that's fine, that'll make an episode. But really what they should do is they take them apart, they go, okay, this is an episode, let's flesh it out. Let's develop it. Let's make these characters far more interesting. Let's make them far more developed so they get a feeling of the personality. And I get that maybe it's a little bit of trying to keep their attention, maybe. That's what the issue is. And I think that's what the issue is. I think that the writers are getting hung up on thinking that they need to be funny, consistent. Like, it needs to be quick-fire jokes, and that needs to be the way. It's like, The Simpsons doesn't need to be that. The Simpsons can be just intelligent and entertaining, and that's what it was. They could have done better. They could have made it more intelligent. They could have... given it's an episode about stalking, why not have that a bit more realised? Why not have that be a bit more explained? Why a person would specifically stalk somebody. Unless I just don't get why they didn't try to develop the character and make her seem more like a character. And I know I've said that several times, but it always comes back to the same thing. Is that The Simpsons could be, I'm sure, more intelligent and it could be more focused. And they could try to take what is smaller plots and flesh them out. And they can flesh them out quite easily by making the other characters in them just a bit more interesting. And it's not that hard. And I think that's the kind of thing why I keep watching The Simpsons. I always expect them to pick that up, to get it, to figure that out for themselves. That simply they can just that if they can figure out that they don't need to be competing, that if they are intelligent and they write the things they write as if they were trying to create characters instead of just trying to create quick stories, that they'd be better. But I don't know. So right, I'm going to go set off another one of these episodes, and so I'll be back soon. Yeah, I think that's everything I can think about for the episode. There was one thing, which I just remember now I was going to talk about. There's a really weird joke, and I say joke, questionable, where Homer has like Lenny and Carl as like his entourage. Not really needed, I think, for the episode. It's just a very sort of off thing. But they're there, and then they have these two fans who come over to get autographs, and then you see them afterwards with Lenny and Carl in the back of this limo. They saying they want to get with Homer, and they're like, "Oh well, that's not going to happen, but we're available." And then like it shows an outside shot of the limo driving away, at the back of the limo bouncing. I don't really know why that was put in. It's not really that funny so much as really, really kind of creepy and off-putting. I mean, it's seriously that moment you're just like, right, somebody wrote that and somebody had to animate that. What even? But that's like the one bit of the episode that really, really sort of sticks with me of just like what even the hell, guys? What even the hell? This has been a much longer episode. The episode's very good. Homer Seville. I recommend watching it if you get a chance. But other than that, that's to say. See you later.